Hey everyone, it's Rodney Rissanen. Welcome to another episode of Rodney's Life Lessons. Yesterday I did a video about my resume and the kind of work I'm looking for. It reminded me of a video I did probably a month or so ago about those people struggling with addiction and stuff like that. And I want to touch a little more on that because I'm applying at recovery centers and in a support role. And I'm going to touch a little bit on the conversation I had with the mayor of Gibsons. He invited me to come have coffee with him and discuss, because I was the senior guy for the overdose prevention site, community engagement coordinator, straight to the point. I was kind of the guy that would get things done. And I had my ear to the ground, so they really respected my opinion a lot, because I lived in the housing project with those struggling with addiction and mental health and substance abuse 24/7 for 4 years. That was quite a grind, I have to say. And there was when I did the homeless count, the newspaper reached out to me and they did a story on what I saw as, pros and cons and positives and negatives about the homeless in the community. And I'm going to share a little bit about what I shared with the newspaper and my view from the experience that I've had. So a lot of people, like, I lived at I guess I can say it's called Rain City, and they provide no barrier housing, which means people that use heroin and crack and meth and have addiction issues are okay to live there. They're actually okay to do their drugs there. The front office will provide the needles and pipes and tinfoil and arm ties and everything needed for those person to use their substances. I'm from BC, Canada, and they decriminalized possession. So you can have 2.5 grams of heroin or crack or meth, which I think is insanity, but it is what it is. And I'm kind of glad to be living in Arizona now, where it's not legal and it's jail or recovery, which I think is the only logical way of treating people. Because the 4 years that I was there, I've seen 25 people die from overdose. I would literally say, I says, am I going to see you tomorrow? I says, you're like the Walking Dead to me, because they just play Russian roulette multiple times a day, every day. So one of the answers that they tried to put forth was provide housing for these people that are struggling with addiction and homeless and stuff. And I'm very grateful they provided housing for me. I had on a disability pension. I really couldn't afford to get housing, and the low cost of the program housing allowed me to live there, and meals were provided, and laundry was provided, and internet was provided. You literally move in and there's a bed with blankets and dishes and even toilet paper to start off with. So I am eternally grateful to Rain City, and I'll never say a bad thing about them, regardless of what I may think of their approach to harm reduction. They provided a home for me, and for that I am eternally grateful. But one of the problems, and I stated this in the interview with the radio, which can be found at coastreporter.com, is when you provide housing to someone who is actively using life-threatening drugs like heroin and meth and crack, what you're doing is you're taking them out of the environment where they would use in front of their friends, and if they overdosed and went down, their friends would know what to do. They would have the Narcan, and they would know how to administer that, and they would literally save their lives. So what would happen when you give them their own room, their own place to stay, which for some of them they haven't had in years, and it's a beautiful thing, is they are now using in private. And this, it's really sad. I did that article for the newspaper, and 1 week later, in my very building, that very thing happened, where somebody used a loan and died. So what is the answer? Well, I'm a life coach, a wellness coach, and I've got really a lot of experience dealing with people struggling with addiction and homelessness and mental health issues. It's a multifaceted approach you need to do. Like you can't just do one, they'll fall through the cracks of the others. So from my experience in training and view of being boots on the ground level experience for 4 years doing this is firstly, you need to treat why they're using these hard drugs. You need some sort of life coaching, some counseling. And one of the things is they get a dopamine rush from using these drugs. So you need to replace that with a healthy dopamine rush that then you can then wean them off of to normal levels, because it's not normal to get constant dopamine rush. That's the thing with people watch pornography. They get this and it becomes unhealthy. It's the same when you do, these narcotics, they get this rush. So one of the treatment centers, they would take them on long hikes. They had them in the gym hitting the heavy bag and working out. So you need something. So you address the issue why they're using. They may have been abused as a child. Nobody likes them, nobody trusts them, nobody's given them a chance. So you address why they're using. So the next step, so that's step one, is why. You find that out. And then step two is they need to go through recovery. You can't give them a home, you can't give them a job if they're struggling with active addiction. One of my jobs was community engagement coordinator, Seashell Downtown Business Association. And I would get leads from businesses that were looking to give somebody a chance. And I would find a candidate. I would set up the interview with the manager of the business. I would then, there's times I bought changes of clothing for these people. I would let them shower in my room and get them cleaned up and bring them to the interview. I would then be the mediator between the manager and the person that was being interviewed. Made sure everything was understood, make sure they were there in a timely manner. And I got people jobs. I really did. And it's a very powerful thing. But the problem with that, if they are not free from their addiction, now they got some cash flowing. So the danger is, okay, first paycheck. Now they go and they get loaded and they get worse into their addiction. I had to fire this one guy. He was chasing around a young staff member asking for a cash advance, demanding a cash advance so he'd get more drugs. So we find out why they have the addiction, why they're seeking solace in the substance. We put them through recovery, because until they go through recovery, they can't have a job and they can't have a home. Now, and one of the key elements is these folks cannot move back into the same neighborhood where all their friends are and everybody's getting loaded, because they're going to have cravings and they know exactly who to go to and who to talk to. And now they have no tolerance after being in recovery. They're going to overdose and they're going to die. That's one of the very real dangers of someone coming out of recovery. I know I could say names. People, they coming out of recovery on the bus ride home, they got loaded and they're now no longer with us. So you addressed why they're using. You then put them through recovery and they're now clean. Now you find them affordable housing away from the crowd that they were using with. And now, so they're in recovery, they got a home, now you can get them a job. There was a place in Surrey, British Columbia, that they would take people that were in recovery. It was a grocery store that had a furniture and a meat department, a produce department, and they would take that individual and train them in each of those departments. So by the time they were finished training, they were a highly sought after trained individual that could find jobs in the community in grocery stores and a number of capacities. So I'm applying for work, and I've got experience in this. I've done this. I know I can help people. Like, the mayors have spoken to me, and see, one of the things too is there is a spiritual aspect to all of this. You know, fact is, we are a spiritual being having a human experience. When I lost my arm in 1986, I had an outer body experience. I stood beside God. It does not end when you die. You are a soul in a human body. And we need a relationship with a higher power. Like, the 12 steps even teaches this. People in recovery, AA, NA, they teach that you need a relationship with a higher power. We've got this void inside of us that people try and fill with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's just not going to happen. So this is an important part, and this would be part of the initial, you know, what happened? Why are you doing this? What happened to your life? And then you give them that foundation. You give them some hope. I was taking people through plant medicine ceremonies. It's called 5-MeO-DMT. It's called the God molecule, the God particle. It is extremely powerful. I took a dozen people through this. We're talking gangbangers and ex-cons and stuff. I took them through ceremony in my home, and every single one of them, and we're talking hardcore addicts here, every single one of them say that's the most powerful experience I've ever had in my life. So the idea was to give them some tools to help them to navigate their way out of addiction. So I'm going to end this video here. I just wanted to share a little bit about how I think it's important to give those people struggling with addiction a chance. But don't just give them a home, don't just give them a job. It's a multi-pronged effort that needs, if you miss one of those steps, they will fall through the cracks, and there can be bad consequences. So thank you all for watching this. If you are interested in reaching out to me and talking more about this, please do. Please message me. And if you know somebody that's looking for an employee with my qualifications and experience, get in touch with me. Take care, everyone. Bye.